Let's get started with the Great Depression that happened in the 1920s. First, we would like to figure out what triggers the crisis. Here are the 5 causes of the Great Depression, and we are going to evaluate them one by one. Now, we go to the false prosperity. The total realized income in the US surged from 74.3 billion US dollar to 89 billion US dollar from 1923 to 1929. However, the wealth was distributed unevenly, with 60% of people living below the poverty line, while the top 5% of people earned 1/3 of the country. Installment buying refers to buying a commodity with periodic payment. Actually, in that time, many people were too poor to purchase goods. As a result, the manufacturers had to lay off a huge number of workers, since there was no market for the goods. Next comes to the trade collapse. After the World War I, the European Union owed a 10 billion debt to the US. Sadly though, Europe had already suffered from the aftermath of the war, and they could hardly bear the debt. In 1922, the US passed the Fortney-Macomber Act, which instituted high tariffs on industrial products. This suppressed trading and world trade declined. The third cause is the stock market crash broke out on 29th of October, 1929. Millions of middle-class Americans began to speculate in stock market by buying risky stocks in order to get rich quickly. As a result, the stock price quadrupled from 1920 to 1929. At that time, people were borrowing money to buy stocks, which is known as buying stocks on margin. Brokers started to charge an interest rate as high as 20% in 1929. However, no one cared because of the stock market grew so quickly. Brokers lent out a total of 8.5 billion in 1929. At the same time, fraud and cheats occurred due to lacking regulation. Finally, the Dow Jones Index sunk from 381 points to 41 points. Consequently, investors who borrowed money to buy stock could not repay their loans, and this left the bank an empty bag. Here comes the farm crisis. Before the Great Depression, many American farmers suffered economically. They produced much, but their profits were small. Worse still, their farms were hit by one of the worst droughts ever encountered. Farms were turned into deserts. Foreclosures happened when an owner cannot pay for the mortgage. The bank repossessed the farms and sold them. Thousands of farmers lost their farms. Their income shrunk for 60%. Last but not least is the banking crisis. As previously mentioned, small banks lent quite a number of loans to the poor farmers, while on the other hand, larger banks made huge loans to foreign countries to pay back debts for World War I. When situation got tough in the US, farmers went default, and when the banks stopped lending money, European nations default too. Some other banks went default when panicked people withdrew their savings from the bank. We sum up the 5 causes before talking about the consequences of the crisis. Here are the 5 consequences of the crisis. Now, we will discuss the 2008 financial crisis.
Created using Powtoon.